kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired from my last job. Hot wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Beat my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash, Brent, Commander Cody, lots of people, lots of guests, lots to talk about. So let's get right at it. Wade and Carter Weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerlam Hayfeed and Ranch Services. Stop on by for all you need for your yard, your garden, your pets, your livestock, all your animals. They can take care of everything. Brent gets his chicken stuff there.
Absolutely. 61 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 87 under mostly cloudy skies. There you have it.
There you have it. Ricky King, Rena Scherer, Mark Kurtz on the podium this morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks to everybody who's joining us on Facebook and YouTube and on Magic. And if you haven't done so, like and share the video on Facebook. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to our show on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. It just helps. All the algorithms that we need to try to expand our reach.
As always, thanks to Magic 95.9. That's the mothership. That's the home base of the Wade and Carter Show. I visited yesterday with Lilo Arguelles, and we called Carlos Lopez, the president of Lopez Broadcasting. They have a number of stations, San Antonio, Corpus, and he echoed that we need to be on in Corpus, and they are in the process of upgrading and redoing and expanding a signal tower. And as soon as that is done, we expect to be on in Corpus, like 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, exciting.
Should be live in Corpus as well. 4 to 5. 4 to 5.
4 to 5, not 45.
You were doing so good while his microphone was dead.
Yeah. I know.
And then
I should kill it again, maybe.
He says something inappropriate, and then you raise his microphone. We reward bad behavior here too often. I think it's something to talk about.
So we do. Mark Zapata, Bobby Leister, Amanda King. Good morning. Judge Posey, Scott Tompkins.
Hi, Judge.
Justin Glass, Marvin Mikic, Ashley Strevel. Good morning.
I'm flattered to have Ashley, and I really enjoyed your piece, ma'am, on Sheila Koyatso. Your town talk was very well done. I find you very energetic and interesting, and I think that y'all should do even a better job of promoting that piece. Maybe you could have at some point, I don't know, a short interview with some really cool radio guys, and that would be
pretty cool
town
piece.
talk. Wouldn't that be something? We've been on the air for 8 years, dominate the airwaves early in the morning. By our own estimation.
Absolutely, by our own
and
estimation.
We've never once
affirmation.
We've only been mentioned locally in the newspaper, for example, when somebody will say that Wade and Carter, they're no Rush Limbaugh, something like that. Yeah. That's how we end up.
We don't want to be.
Yeah, we don't want to be.
No.
So
Stephanie Connie, Stephen
Castaneda, have us on.
Carter's in, Linda Chris,
Tammy Carter, riveting radio and television to have us on. I think that'd be great.
Greg Garcia, man, slipping, man.
So go check out the Town Talk episode this week. I guess you can find it on the victoria.org, whatever the website is, victoriatx.org, probably.
Victoria.gov.
Anyway, Victoria's website. Ashley is good. It's a well-done piece. So look, we're going to jump right into it. And I'll just take that today. Just gonna let it go.
There you go. victoriatx.gov/town talk. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump right in, and right here like this. I push the button, boom, and there's our guest, and it is our friend.
We just learned something too. You might not want to tip off against her.
Right. No, she hoops. I did not know she was an athlete. I thought being a preacher's wife was enough. I did not know she was an athlete.
It was years ago.
Oh, whatever.
I would not go out right now. I've already
She
thrown
can,
out bags.
she can do it in heels and a dress.
The back
She's
hurts.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Like somebody throws you the ball and you just naturally tuck it away. Like, no, you're not touching it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's a reaction.
So we're joined by Kimberly Tomasic. Kimberly is she's the head Shaka Khan at the Victoria Symphony. Tell us what's going on. Tell us what's coming up, and tell the folks what you want them to know.
Well, it's our last week of concert season coming up. So on Thursday, April the 24th at De Leon Plaza, we will be having our Downtown Rhythms, actually our award-winning Downtown Rhythms. Last week, we got an award for Main Street program.
How about that?
Yeah, it was the People's Choice. So that means they voted on us.
That is fantastic.
Yes. So we're doing a collaboration. If you like cars, there'll be about 300 to 350 hot rods.
Really?
That
Where's
are-
this going to be?
De Leon Plaza.
There's not 350 parking spots down there. We're going to talk to the city manager about that in a minute.
Well, they're parking around the square. They're using the courthouse.
That'll be
They're going to be
fantastic.
everywhere. And we're going to have local groups coming in that will be joining the Victoria Symphony. We have our different schools. We'll have the jazz group out of Patty Welder. We're going to have Mission Valley's choir, and we have some Crossroads strings and community band.
Let's
that's
do
gonna
this. They want you to kind of step to the side.
There we go.
So they
Yeah.
can see me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now we'll put it back. The city manager, right?
Yeah.
Not much to look at.
No, we'll put it
So
back.
we'll put the microphone back in front of him.
I thought you
Yeah.
wanted my mic moved.
No,
I was like,
no.
why am I on the
You're
video?
fine.
You're
we,
not.
We can go to the commander.
Good.
The commander Cody Cam.
Yeah,
There
it's-
he is.
It's not all about you, Commander.
That's good.
So that's one of our concerts coming up. And then on the 26th, we have our last Master Series concert, which is a pianoist. It's the 1812 Overture with a canon. So it's going to be
Ooh.
go out with the bang for this
Just say
season.
with what do you do? You play boom. I mean, is that, I don't
Oh my
understand.
gosh.
I don't know what the can. Okay,
It has a canon piece in the 1812 Overture.
nice.
It's a Tchaikovsky piece.
Look at that. Greg Garcia says he loves the Downtown Rhythms. He'll be performing with the Crossroads musicians in the orchestra.
Yes.
There you
That's
go.
Awesome. Now, were you always?
I don't know what Greg plays. Greg would be a percussionist, maybe. Just guessing. I don't
I
know.
think that's racist. I don't know why, but I just. Do you? I mean, what you think? Is he gonna like have his bongos and maybe? Okay. Have you always been into the arts, or did you just embrace it full on when you got this role? Or
So when I was young, I was in the ballet. One of my aunts was one of the dance instructors in town. But middle school, I gravitated to sports and not necessarily ballet. Music, I think I mentioned before that my dad is deaf. And so he only listened to classical music when I was growing up. So I kind of have always had that love.
He could hear the classical
Yeah,
music?
he could hear that and not the words. And
Right.
so we listened to that. And when I had children that were young, we played only classical music in the nursery, and I studied to it in college. So it's just been always part of my life.
Greg Garcia plays the trombone. See,
There.
somehow I decided
Not
that was
percussion.
racist. I just because everything's racist, right? It's Donald Trump's fault. It's fascinating. You know, there are multiple layers to this onion known as Kimberly Tomasic. She's a very interesting person.
Should we get a hoop for in here?
Well, we could get one of those little Nerf deals.
Yeah.
We'll get one. We'll make
next
you take
time. I'll
Test
let
your
you know
skills
ahead
next
of time.
time.
There you go.
skills challenge.
I'll have to practice it at home.
I think Riker's eating the city manager.
I hope that there's not. I'm feeling a lawsuit, and I'm hoping that Riker is not
At
attacking.
least a new wardrobe.
Our
I'm worried
city
about
manager.
blood personally.
Oh,
Yes.
no, the city manager can hold his own. I have no doubt Jesus Garza
Well,
can take
and
care
we'll
of that
be
dog.
doing we'll be doing season ticket renewals to our existing customers starting at the end of April. And then for new people that want to be a part, we start June 1st. And that's really a great deal because the tickets come out to about $25 a piece
Oh.
versus $40 to $50 a piece.
Oh,
if you
that's
buy.
awesome.
I
And
mean,
you sold out numerous events this year.
yeah, we did. And so
Fantastic.
So
it's
any
going great.
sneak peek to the 25-26 season?
Well, we
Sure.
had Queen. We had Queen.
You heard it here first.
Well, yeah, I can tell y'all.
Tell us.
It would be alive for y'all. Said y'all never get anything special, so I can mention some. We have some really great ones. October is going to be the Texas Gridiron, NFL, all about football. You can wear your favorite jersey. We're going to do tailgating. It's going to be a great event. We're on a school campus. You cannot do that.
Okay.
But
Tailgating.
You might be able to get a waiver.
Yes.
Just saying.
I have to say, I cannot bring it on the campus. I cannot tell my other customers what to
Right.
do.
Absolutely.
Yes, but we're going to have a huge concert with All About Football in October. And then in January, we're going to do
Are
the
they gonna
Eagles.
play like fight songs?
Yeah, they're going to play the NFL theme songs.
Awesome. Dun, dun, dun,
Yes,
dun,
yes.
dun,
Our
dun,
music
dun,
director has actually rewritten them from band into orchestra.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so they're going to be really wonderful. And then in January,
Daryl
the
Oney's so good.
Eagles. The Eagles. Yes, Daryl Oney is wonderful. He is very gifted.
Look
And,
at y'all with your little arts connection.
and next year is his 30th year with us. 30 years with the
Wow.
Victoria Symphony. So
I think they missed it. You said the Eagles.
I
next
said
year?
the Eagles.
Wow.
We're going to do a Hotel California spin on the entry and make it really interesting. And then in April next year, we're going to do a theme that's space and NASA and the planets. And it's going to be beyond belief.
It's like it's gonna be super, super duper
Out of this
Out
world.
of this world.
out of this world, super duper.
Yeah, those are just a few of the highlights. I'm really excited because this is the first season I got to plan. So
I tell you what, I think I'm gonna do my best. And what day of the week typically are the concerts?
So our Master Series concerts are on Saturdays
Okay.
at 7:30.
I'm
But
gonna do what I can to get Donnie involved because it's just you make it exciting, it's interesting, it's fun. You don't have to go and you don't have to understand
No.
Tchaikovsky to sit and enjoy the symphony.
No.
well, and if you don't, we have a pre-concert talk that the maestro and the guest artists do before at 6:40. And my husband went to one and he said the concert was just so much better because he understood what was going on.
That's
And not
awesome.
just listening to the music, but he knew the history behind it and the person who wrote it. And so those are really great times too.
Junior Sample says the Queen concert was really good, but the divas were the best.
Oh, that was our September.
There you go.
And he says he's got a new season ticket holder joining him and his wife next year. There you go.
Awesome.
There you have it. So that's
Awesome.
Kimberly Tomasic, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Kimberly.
so much. Now tell them one more time what's coming up so they can get
So
ready.
Thursday, April the 24th is our Downtown Rhythms, which is on De Leon Plaza. It starts at 5:30 to 9:30. We'll be having local groups and the orchestra accompanying them. And then on Saturday, April the 26th at 7:30, we'll have our last concert series of the season, which is a piano player from Britain. He's a returning, and I think y'all would love both of them.
That's fantastic. Thank you for
Thank
coming by.
you.
You know, you're always more than welcome. You're invited anytime you want to come by because Ash and I are such cultured giants.
We are.
That for us,
You've been cultured many
I've
times.
been
We'll
cultured.
get you there.
Right.
We'll get you there.
We appreciate it. I'm going to put up a screen, take a break so you can sneak back by. And thank you so much for
Thank
coming in.
you.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's Kimberly Tomasic. She heads up the Victoria Symphony, and they're doing great things. Now, the Dollar Floor Store welcomes you. They want you to come in, get your next flooring in. Stranger.
Carpet.
They want
Super
you to come
cheap.
in.
Tile flooring, super cheap. They are the Floor Trader. Stop on by. This might be the only floor traders where might be happy to see prices hitting rock bottom at the Dollar Floor Store.
Absolutely. Palace Bingo, we need to pick a date.
Yep.
People are on me about the date.
I know.
We
We'll
haven't picked
figure
the
it out.
date.
later
USA
today.
Concrete Coatings, 578-HOME. Let Charlie Garcia and his team come out. Sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it. They can level up your slab. They can level up your driveway, seal the cracks. They can put down a tough as nails polyurethane coat that will crack, stick, peel, or fade. It's post-Caldo Thursday.
All those Rangers fans back out of the closet this year because they're off to a good start.
Oh,
Put down the logo.
They were off to a good start last year. It doesn't matter. They're not going to.
No, that was the Mariners. Remember when we overcame that 20-game deficit or whatever
They're
it
going to
was?
fold. They're the Rangers. Veracruz Restaurant, get in today. Full menu back in force. Get by and see them.
Shopping block. Went by there yesterday. Wacky Wing Wednesday. Grabbed some wings.
I bought $10.
They have $10 New York strips,
They were
and these things
fantastic.
they've got to be at least a pound each.
So what?
And they've got them till they run out, and they had more But when I got there, I took the last 2 that were in the butcher's case, but they've got some more, but that's a great deal on those.
So
on
they
those New York
took,
strips.
you've got the porterhouse, right? So you got like the
Yeah.
T-bone side and you've got the strip side. And they buy this,
You dying over there, Commander?
they buy this roast that is, so they take this, a picture of these steaks being stacked on top of each other, and they literally cut it off that bone. And that's what gives them a huge, it was just a huge piece like this. And they just slice them into New York strips, and they were phenomenal. We cooked them up last night, had a guest over and cooked them up last night. Let's just skip all that and let's get right to our guest. And really, most of you, there you go, you're live with us. And I just want to emphasize that we talk, there's the applause. There's the applause.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate in our community to have such access to not only our elected officials, but people like Jesus Garza, who is our city manager. And I want to preface what I've said to you many times personally. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think there's questions. People have questions. They have concerns, but that's natural, right? When you're doing something, somebody's going to question it. Now, before you got here, in the years before you got here, we had
Which was 6 years ago. Almost,
isn't that
by the way.
amazing?
Isn't that long
Yeah.
already? Man.
But we had a stagnant, we had no Main Street project. We had no new pavilion. We had no new Justice Center. We had no plans for the community center. These things were
We had
talked
no
of.
vision.
There was no vision. And the only thing that changed, sir, is you. So whether people are 100% on board or they're floundering in the weeds, the difference in our community has been you. So I want to applaud you for what I think has been a job well done. And some more applause.
Well, it's 2 applause in one show.
Wow,
that rarely
that's
happens.
never
I'm,
happened.
I'm
I-
just going to leave now while I'm ahead.
I think you're getting reelected. No, but here's the deal. Tell us whatever, why don't you start? Because I know you got something to say. Tell us what's going on, and then we'll ask questions.
What's
Sure,
the
well,
big, what's on everybody's mind?
What's on
Well,
everybody's mind?
well, first of all, I appreciate the kind words and the support. I think it was a game changer to have Mayor McCoy as mayor as well, or at the same time.
Yeah, he beat
So
a guy.
I-
He beat a guy you know.
I certainly wouldn't, take all the credit for a lot of the vision that has been in place for the last 6 years. But there certainly has been a lot in motion. And I think whenever you're trying to improve and enhance livability and grow the community, as you mentioned, there's always going to be questions and concerns, and rightfully so, right? And so currently, we obviously have an initiative, which is the main point that I wanted to convey today, that is on the ballot in May, right? Which is a renovation and expansion of the community center. And we're going around this month to educate the public as much as possible on this effort. It's a roughly $35 million project that would build a new arena, 3,000-seat arena, as well as renovate the existing arena into an expo hall. And so it's a pretty solid project. And these projects are very common to be funded through a combination of local funds as well as funds that come from visitors, right? Because whenever you have a facility that's enjoyed by both, it makes sense to find a way to pay for these things from
I think
both
when I was
sources,
looking,
right?
when I was looking at some cities around us, I think Houston has like about 18% of these taxes on your hotel bill.
Right.
Sports funds, all the
Right.
different things. I was just in San Diego for a convention. They've got a 14% transient occupancy tax. Crazy.
Oh yeah, and
Hey,
some cities have downtown tourism districts to actually get above the legal cap of 17 or 18%. So San Antonio, Austin, for example, some of the larger cities have an extra hotel occupancy tax in the downtown districts. And so it's up there, and for us, it's 13%. And so we're proposing a 2% that would increase it to 15%. Again, very common mechanism across the state to pay for projects like these. But we understand that people have questions about them because it obviously has the word tax in it. So we want to make sure that people understand that what we're proposing and what's on the ballot has nothing to do with property taxes and solely to do with the hotel motel tax as well as car rentals.
This last weekend, Dawn and I took Rylan, the 12-year-old, over to play in a baseball tournament in San Antonio. Bad weekend. You had the Final
Yeah, the
Four,
Final Four, yeah.
and the PGA Tour was in town.
Right.
We had some friends. We stayed with family, but we had some friends that tried to book a Best Western in San Antonio, and it was $600 a night. So what's great about that hotel motel tax is as you have more and more going on in your city and you drive up for events, you drive up your hotel rates, all of it, which by the way, folks, don't complain. I mean, you're not paying it. You're staying at your house. Let them pay it. They're coming in because Victoria's got something going on. And the next thing you know, that it's a multiplier of the rate. So it's a great revenue source.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you bring up a good point, because if everything rises together, in theory, you would increase the revenue that the 2% brings in, and it presents opportunities to pay that debt off early, or presents opportunities to actually do more projects, because that 2% will always need to be used for improvements at the community center.
So, or similar type.
No,
this
it would
is
have
just
to be
for
the
community center.
yeah.
Just as an aside, though, does the hotel industry push back against this? Do they say, "Oh, you're going to price this out of the market"? I mean, I'm just trying to think of who's
Great question.
this.
So there are certainly the ones that are more interested in it, right? Because we're in essence making the rooms slightly more expensive, right? And we've had meetings with them from the very beginning. Actually, both Judge Zeller and I have met with them on several occasions, because he has his own initiative that might impact hotels as well.
And I think there's a bill in the legislature
that
that would provide some funds to the county, if I'm not
correct.
mistaken, as well.
And
correct.
The hoteliers have been very supportive of the effort. They recognize that this could help increase demand for them and increase business for them. Several of them own hotels in larger communities like Corpus Christi, where they've seen this type of mechanism utilized, and they've seen the benefit of it. And so they were very supportive of it all.
A position that Ash and I have taken here on the program has been that this project could be a quality of life enhancer for Victoria in general. But I know that when you're doing things, you're looking at cash flow and all that. How do you see this project impacting Victoria's economy?
Well, without a doubt, there would be a positive impact, right? Because one of the key objectives of this renovation and expansion is to try and hold larger events that we've never held before, concerts, rodeos, things of that sort, but also being able to have multiple events at the same time. And so if we have those multiple events,
just ignore Commander
time,
Cody. I think he's coughing up a kidney.
We would be able to basically just attract more individuals to come to Victoria, spend their money here, right? Whether that's
Absolutely.
at hotels, restaurants, et cetera. And all that will have an impact, of course, on our economy. Now,
well, the farm and
obviously
ranch show has always complained there's not enough space, so they've run out of space. So there's one that would benefit.
Right, exactly. But we want to have more events like that, right? And so having the facilities is the first step in that direction.
Now I'm just going to address the elephant in the room, because many people have commented to Brent and I off air that this is putting lipstick on a pig at the community center. So how do you battle that for people with that perception?
Right. Well, I think we briefly talked about it, and I think that's a false premise to begin with, because I do not believe that this facility is even a pig per se. And so, anybody's welcome to come and tour the facility. As a matter of fact, we have a come and go informational this upcoming Monday from 1 to 3 p.m. We will be providing tours during that time frame, because the facility is in good shape. Now, I understand that there's some limitations, technological limitations. There's some HVAC issues that kind of make it feel muggy a little bit at times. But in terms of the structure itself, it's in good shape. We had a facility assessment study done to it as part of the master plan, and had that facility assessment conveyed to us that this facility was beyond repair or beyond making better, we wouldn't even be here, right?
It was done right the first time.
And so this idea that we're putting lipstick on a pig, I have an issue with, because I do not believe that facility is a pig to begin with. It has a lot of potential. It just simply needs some enhancements, and that's what we're looking to do.
You just made me think back. So 6 years ago plus, I was invited to come to a meet and greet when you were one of the 3 finalists for our city manager job.
Seems like forever ago.
It does. And what I remember about it was we were in the annex. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, they rolled out the red carpet.
Yeah, they really rolled out the red carpet. We were in the annex, and you don't even remember this, but I do, because at the time I was thinking about running for mayor, and I was just humiliated.
You were already running for mayor.
Yeah, but I was just humiliated by the fact that you and 2 other people that were promoting for the job, over in the corner, there was one little fold out table, and there was a round thing of HEB cookies. And that was
And
the
some
meat and
punch,
greet,
right?
And some punch. And I thought to myself, what a JV. Can we just do a varsity deal? You're inviting a guy here to enhance your city, and all you're doing is telling him, well, here's what you've got to work with.
Well, it must have worked because he came.
Cookies and
Well,
punch.
Clearly, they did their research because punch and cookies is the way to my heart. So it worked.
What? Stop
It worked.
Unbelievable.
So
Maybe pan dulce would have been a little
Right
better.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
you
Cookies
go.
do the
fondue station,
Right. Yeah. Sweet bread, baby. That's what we need.
That's right.
So
queso and chips.
Which
Tell-
I gave up bread for Lent, by the way, and so I have sweet bread on my mind because I'm just waiting
Oh.
for Easter
There you go.
so I can have a concha.
unbelievable. This
Um,
guy.
I know.
A lot of people go, okay, the community center far away from everything. And let's be realistic here, because I grew up in a city of 1 million people, and there's nothing far away from anything in this town. You're 10, 15 minutes away at most. You're 10, 15 minutes away at best in larger cities from your hotels. Go to an Astros game, unless you're staying right across the street, you're 25, 30 minutes away from your hotel. So I think that's a false premise. But why the decision to do this and not maybe start fresh somewhere else?
That's certainly one of the more common questions we've been getting about the
He
project.
can probably give you
and-
150 million reasons.
I'm sorry.
You can probably give us 150 million reasons.
Yeah, well, the driving one is a financial one, right? This did
Because
come
what
up.
does a new facility cost? I mean,
Well,
if we're
this
looking
came up
at
as
it.
part of the effort of the steering committee when we were doing the master plan, and the current community center is almost over 90,000 square feet, and so it's a big building,
Yeah.
big space, and so we did run the analysis to figure out how much would it cost if we rebuilt this from scratch somewhere else. If you, of course, built the arena that we're proposing, all the stall barns, et cetera, parking lot from scratch. I mean, just everything, right? And it was basically twice as much. And so it was a cost prohibitive thing, right? And then you have to ask yourselves, well, what do you do with the existing facility, right? Because now let's assume that we did have the money to build a new facility elsewhere, right? Then what do you do with the existing facility? Now the city's left to maintain 2 facilities, right? And so there's just a lot of components there
Mattress
that
store.
from a financial standpoint,
check cashing place.
didn't make sense. And we want to make sure that again, at the end of the day, we have a multi-purpose, space. And so it made sense to account for the arena to be in proximity to the existing community center for events like the livestock show and others that may actually necessitate utilizing both.
We had a conversation with the mayor several weeks ago, just casual conversation, and it was casual. So I'm going to take a comment that he made out of context. But at the time, Dwayne Crocker said, look, you have to be cognizant of the expense to duplicate what we've got.
Right.
And understand that we, as a group, as a council, and as the city, we don't want to step right over good, chasing great that may not be attainable. And he said, what we have is good, and it can be better. I think I'm for the project. Now, a week ago, or 10 days ago, maybe by now, we had another guest on, and he presented the other side of the pancake, and part of his concern is, and you see this a lot from folks, why are you doing this when we're not spending enough on first responders? Why are we doing that when we could be doing this? And I realize it's 2 totally different funding streams. It's like comparing apples and oranges, but let's shift gears and look at where we're at with our STEP program and our police department. And, we're losing firemen. And this is one of those deals, and you and I have talked about this. In no way am I insinuating this is your fault, but, we're going to blame you. That's how how that works. It's not your fault, but we're going to blame you. What can we do to enhance? I think, for example, before I turn you loose, because I know you got things to say, I think that the new
If you'd let him
Justice
say
Center,
it.
I want to, but I want to give him a compliment. I'm very proud of the new Justice Center. Is he acting right? Hey, stop chewing that. Hey,
He disconnected that for you.
yeah,
Oh, there you go.
stop it. You just kick him.
Don't talk to me like that, Brent.
That's how we do it. No, but Riker, stop. He's all embarrassed. The new Justice Center is going to do things to retain officers with its workout facilities. It's a nicer space and all these things. But talk to the folks about what we're going to do long term to retain good officers and good firemen
And recruit them.
Well, I would say, first of all, that, we have challenges all across the board in this organization, right? We have over 600 positions in the organization, ranging from public safety to public works, right? Economic development folks, administrative folks. I mean, it's a broad organization. And the reality is that we have challenges all across the board, not just with first responders. And I think one of the things that we need to take into account as part of this whole conversation is, what is the underlying core issue? And the underlying core issue that makes it challenging for us is the fact that this community hasn't grown. And so we've recently been trying to focus more on that lack of growth, because between 2000 and 2020, those 2 decades, Victoria only grew roughly 8%. New Braunfels, for example, San Marcos areas grew over 140% over that time frame. Bryan College Station area grew 75%. All of these different cities grew substantially at a faster pace than we did. And the reality is that now presents this reality of, I've got a $60 million general fund, which is where we pay most of our employees out of. All these other cities have a general fund that's over 100 million. And so this premise that somehow we will be able to afford to pay what these other cities pay is just not a realistic expectation once you look at the facts of what's the true issue, right? And so what we want to do long term to try and address this concern is focus on growing, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to increase our revenues to be able to try and even keep up with the market of what it costs to keep all of our employees, or to attract employees for all positions, not just for first responders. And so I'd like to see the conversation more centered around that core issue, right? Because that's where I think people can have a role in improving that. Meaning, support your local businesses, support the local restaurants, the local stores, right? Shop local, stay local, right? That's where you can really contribute to the tax base. Be a positive steward of our community. Support initiatives that will help people stay in Victoria or move to Victoria. Things like support the school district. I mean, there's so many different things that play a direct role in growing. Our university becoming a Texas A&M would obviously contribute to us growing as the university grows, right? And so all of these different things connect to our lack of growth, or could connect to helping us grow. And that's the core issue.
So
now, in spite of that limitation, we recognize, and City Council recognize, that this is a challenge for us. And so they established a compensation subcommittee that we've been meeting with over the last 6 months. And we basically have developed a recommendation that I just began rolling out last week to first responders first, because this is about a $3.4 million pay program that we're looking to propose as part of this upcoming fiscal year, which is together, it's more than just the last 4 years combined. So it's a very healthy pay program that we'll be recommending, with almost 80% of it going towards first responders.
That's awesome.
And so we know that we can't continue to absorb the folks walking out the door, right? We need to do what we can to keep them and to attract individuals. And we know that we have big challenges with public safety departments, with public works, because we're struggling as well to find people who want to work for public works. Who wants to work outside, in 100-degree weather in the summer, making $15 an hour, right? It's very, very challenging. And so we're trying to focus on that, because we know that's a priority. And so we're looking at the short term through this pay program recommendation that we worked up with the compensation committee. But long term, we need to grow. I mean, and there's that's the issue.
So Victoria, then what things that would be on the table would be like, maybe we use abatements to attract new businesses, or maybe we just find a way to make Victoria's environment more, new business friendly. So we're trying to get people to move here, move their businesses here, and then expand what they have here.
That's certainly part of it. And lately, there's been quite a bit of movement at the Port of Victoria with some pretty large companies looking to move. We know that, of course, as our airport grows, that helps as well attract. We're seeing some movement with some retail development that'll actually be announced here within the next month. We had made some progress in that regard pre-pandemic.
Go ahead and tell us.
And so in any case, there are movements in this direction, but ultimately necessitates our community supporting these efforts, right?
Tell us about the retail. This is the place to break news, man. Tell us.
No.
Nobody ever just tells us no. I guess he's the city manager. He can do that. One of my thoughts is, and I'm making these numbers up, feel free to correct me, because I know you know them off the top of your head. But let's just say that right now we have beginning a fresh out of the academy police officer, let's just say he starts at 45 grand a year, and we have a program in place that maxes him out at, let's say, 75 grand over 20 years. And if that's close to where we are, which I think it's close, what would be the financial impact? I don't even know. I honestly don't know how many police officers we have. My guess is maybe 100. I don't know.
130.
Okay. What would happen if we started a new police officer at 55 grand instead of 45?
So currently it's actually 50. It's in the mid 50s.
Okay. And what if we maxed them
The
out?
$47,000 figure is more aligned with what we pay a cadet that we pay to go through the academy. And then once they graduate and get their badge, it increases to about the mid 50s.
What if we found a way to max that guy out over 15 years instead of 20 so that he gets a little bit more of a significant raise?
So,
is it a huge financial
pop?
pop?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know the exact figure off the top of my head, but again, the common denominator is the financial piece of it, right? You know, our community and our revenues don't increase, you know, every year to a substantial clip. 5 years ago when I started, the general fund was like 55 million. It's 60 now. So but our general fund basically only increases about $1 million every year. And so at that pace, we're never going to be able to afford to be able to just max people out, you know, very quickly, right?
Yes, sir.
But the new pay program that we're recommending actually achieves that. And so it actually cuts 10 years off of the, I guess, existing step in terms of top out pay. And so we're basically proposing with the new step to go from roughly 24 years of maxing out to 15.
Well, that's
so
nice.
We're moving in the right direction with what we've proposed. And what we've proposed and what I'll include in the city manager proposed budget this summer, it takes into account some hopeful growth. And so we're taking somewhat of a risk with what we're proposing because we're hoping that, you know, we are successful and that this community does experience some growth over the next 5 years to be able to keep up with what we've proposed. And I think the only way that we're going to stop the bleeding, if you will, of folks leaving and have a chance at recruiting folks is by taking these kinds of risks.
Right.
Because in the absence of risks, the issue is just going to get worse.
Absolutely. You know, we do find, I mean, we have a soft spot. We've always been extremely pro LEO here on the program, and everybody loves a fireman, you know, no kidding. And I just, you know, we always have that, the folks that put themselves in harm's way for us. And then we know that school teachers are underpaid and we pay these folks kind of like school teachers. And it's a little, you know, I know it's frustrating for them. I know the firemen are looking for like a collective bargaining type position. And even though they can't strike, that seems interesting to me, but it's, you know, it's interesting that they want to collectively bargain when they can't strike. So it's like, what's the end game? But while that may seem adversarial to city government, I don't think it necessarily is. It just lets them come as a unified front.
Well, I don't think it's an adversarial thing. And so I don't know where that sentiment would be coming from. You know, I come from cities that were civil service, that had collective bargaining agreements. And so I know that that's an avenue and an option that exists out there that does present an opportunity for the associations to, play a role and have a formal seat at the table when it comes to pay, benefits, and that sort of thing. But I would say that the thing that sometimes gets left out all of that is the civil service part, because the civil service part brings certain structure to things like promotions and brings certain structure to some operational elements. And so whenever the fire association talks about wanting the city to be civil service and then also have collective bargaining, it's not just about the pay and the benefits. There are certain structures that come with being civil service. You have to follow certain grievance policies. And so, you know, there's a lot to it there than just the pay and the benefits part of it.
What else is going on? So we've hit on the two things. How is the new Justice Center? How's that coming?
It's going great. Our public safety headquarter building is on track. It is scheduled to be completed in October. It's about $2 million in the positive. And so
it's under budget?
Correct, by about $2 million.
Because that's the word on the street is it's over budget.
Yeah, that is the word on the street.
Well,
they're spending more money than they budgeted.
I don't know who would believe the word on the street, but
that's why we're getting straight from you, boss.
Yeah, people can just ask, right, if they have a question. But but that project's been very well ran, and so we're looking forward to its completion, and we hope that our personnel can move in by the end of the year. We want to be pretty aggressive with that.
So if you save $2 million, let's say that cost savings stays through, what happens to that $2 million at the end of the project? What can
We
it
would
be used
be able
for?
to just reapply it to another capital
Okay.
project. Yeah.
Okay. So it couldn't be used for salaries or something like that.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah,
And-
you have
and-
many different buckets of money. That
Right.
are
Yeah.
exclusive.
And more than likely, you know, I'm surprised nobody has asked us in a while, but one of the leading questions when we were proposing the public safety headquarters building was, what are you going to do with the existing building? Because the existing City Hall complex needs to go through a renovation as well. And so more than likely, we'll apply that $2 million savings to helping with the renovation expense of the
What do
building.
you
that they're leaving.
anticipate happening with that building? Will it become just city offices?
Basically, and the idea is to move some departments from 700 Main over to City Hall complex, because the only non-police offices that are at City Hall complex are municipal court, city manager's office, city attorney's office, and city secretary's office. Municipal court's moving with PD to the new facility. And so the idea is to move some of the administrative departments over to City Hall complex, HR, finance, communication, public affairs, so that we can have the cluster of administration based off of the same site.
At City
basically.
Hall makes sense.
Yeah, and it'll provide an opportunity to renovate the council chambers, to redesign that in a way that makes more sense for our purpose. There's a lot of safety things that now we should be thinking about that weren't contemplated when these spaces were designed, and so we want to take that into account. Something as simple as, you know, a door behind where council sits, right? They should have a clear exit, right? So anyway,
When
we
was
plan on
that
renovating
building
that.
built? I don't recall when was
In the
that
late
city-
60s.
Okay.
Yeah, in the late 60s. And what's funny about it is that, you know, if you go back in time and actually look at the history of when the city built out facilities, it was all around the late 60s, early 70s. You had, you know, City Hall, Community Center, all built in the late 60s. You know,
And the court annex.
the new library was built in 1975. You know, that this year it celebrates 50 years.
Wow.
And so the city of Victoria went through a growth spurt, if you will, from mid 60s to mid 70s, where it built all these facilities. And that was, you know, over 50 years ago. And so we're kind of going through that now, right? And so when folks ask, you know, what's the plan? Why is this happening? Well, it makes sense, right? I mean, the bulk of our facilities are over 50 years old. We could probably do a better job of spreading out, you know, the investment into facilities so it doesn't come in clusters, right? Like every 50 years you have to spend all this money, right? So we're
Right.
trying to be more strategic with it this go around.
Tough to spread out when everything was built 50 years ago.
Right.
Though,
But
right?
but financially, that's what we're gonna have to do this go around anyway.
Yeah.
And anyway, and then so once some departments leave 700 Main, then the idea would be to renovate 700 Main, or maybe at some point, maybe even find a different home for those folks. Our downtown master plan identified that the highest and best use for that site where 700 Main is probably isn't a city building. So as our downtown grows and hopefully becomes more successful, hopefully it puts us in a position where somebody would want to redevelop that site.
Well, you know, when I was a kid, that was Sears.
Yeah.
It was a Sears store.
Well,
But I agree.
that's when people used to go downtown to shop too.
Yeah.
And in most large cities, they've stopped doing that. Let's get back to the community center project, because I think there's a few things that clear up on the funding of this, because we talked about the hotel motel tax. There's also a component out of rental cars. Where's the rest of the money coming from that isn't raised by the hotel tax and the rental car tax?
So
Because I can't imagine that's raising all $35 million of this project, correct?
Right, it's not, right. And so basically, out of the 35 million, we estimate that about $11 million would be funded out of these two things that are on the ballot, which of course is a 2% venue tax to hotels and the 5% for car rentals. Then we plan on utilizing some of our existing hotel occupancy tax revenues. And then the county has pledged a portion of their county hotel tax that's being considered at the legislature. All of that combined would equate to about $15 million. And so basically, one way to describe it would be that 15 out of the 35 in some way, shape, or fashion is paid for predominantly by visitors, right? Through those
Right.
mechanisms. And then we have to come up with $15 million from certificates of obligation. I know that has led to some confusion, because I've learned that a lot of people don't realize that the city issues debt as part of our normal program. I think people assume that we fall under the same rules as a school district, and that, you know, we have to take every debt issuance to the voters. That's not the case for us. And so for us, every year we issue certificates of obligation, and it goes towards streets, for example, predominantly. But that's also how we paid for a big chunk of the public safety headquarters building as well. And so we have a very aggressive as well as a proactive debt management plan that affords us the ability to free up debt capacity by paying it off early. And that's basically what's happening over the next 5 years, is that we're going to have some debt capacity open up. And we're basically saying that we want to use some of that debt capacity that's opening up to go towards this project. And that's why it's not an extra increase to anything, because it's basically we're finishing paying off some debt and we're going to reissue the debt in part to go towards this community center project. And some folks have asked, well, that's great, but what about streets? And the way that we've designed it all is that we would have enough money to do both. And so we're beginning to discuss which road projects would fall within the next 5-year window. And we're hitting some big ones. We're looking to hit North Street. We're looking to hit Guy Grant. We're looking to hit some very expensive thoroughfare projects that, because they're expensive, have been hard to do. We're looking to hit those over the next 5 years, while at the same time being able to account for $15 million going towards the community center.
Is there going to be a ticket surcharge? Do you know? Have we gotten into those for users to help pay for it as well?
No, that would be an option. That would have actually been contemplated as part of the menu tax.
Okay.
And so had we pursued that option, it would also be on the ballot to do that.
Okay.
As an example, I think Cameron County actually currently has a venue tax on the ballot where that proposition is in there. But no, we're not proposing that mechanism because that would require us to require every user of the facility to use the same company in order to do that.
Like a Ticketmaster or something like that, right? Yeah.
But real quick to kind of finish the 35 million. And so those 215, that's only 30. Then we're looking to partner with our Sales Tax Development Corporation for roughly $5 to $6 million. So to have some upfront cash, because we need some upfront cash to, for example, hire the architect to design it. And so that $35 million budget figure is all inclusive. You know, it's not just the construction piece, and rightfully so. Some people have questioned, well, that's a lot of money to construct it. Well, it's not just for the construction piece, right? It's for all of the professional services that goes involved with it. It's for, the fixtures. I mean, it's all encompassing, right?
So the drawings we've seen, those are just sort of a rendering of what could be. It won't be it may not be what the final project looks like.
100%. It's a conceptual, it's a concept. We know that the big components are critical and are needed, but there'll be a whole design process where the architect will re-engage with key stakeholders to hammer out the details. And so maybe the arena isn't exactly where we're showing it. Maybe it's 10 feet that way, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so, this is just to kind of get the vision flowing.
Do you anticipate kind of a major facade change? Is the facility going to look drastically different, or is it just going to be, we're going to add an arena in the back?
No, there's definitely contemplation to enhancing the look of the existing arena. The biggest driver of that is actually about a 4 or 5 foot stone bottom of it. I forget the technical term for it.
Like
skirting,
like
a stone skirting at the bottom of the facility, so that it's not just a metal building. And so envision that. Not only would that help aesthetically, but it also helps with the minimal damage that was observed during the facility assessment study is caused by the water that filters through at the bottom. And so the benefit of putting a stone sort of facade skirting at the bottom enhances the look of it, but also helps protect the metal from the water, which is really the only issue that was identified during that process. But it'll be painted and it'll look,
it's all going to look
completely
sharp.
different. Yeah.
I remember, I don't remember what the initiative was called, Project 2035 or whatever.
Vision 2035.
There you go. That we anticipated, it has been known that some of this debt was going to roll off, which freed us up to issue more debt to replace that debt. And I remember learning that as a city, because you're an ongoing entity, your goal is never really to be debt free. Your goal is to always be enhancing the community, and you budget for debt retirement. And right. So what, people are like, well, why are we going to get more debt? Why don't we just run a balanced budget? It has nothing to do with the budget. It has, I'm confirming for folks that it's okay. If we were paying $5 million a year to retire certain projects, once they're retired, it frees up $5 million to go do other projects, because you've got to continuously be doing things.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And I think the key is, what are you funding with this debt, right? Because you're right. I mean, we have to utilize debt as a tool to be able to keep up with things, right? But I think the question then becomes, what are you using the debt for? And is it reasonable and is it smart? So for example, it makes sense to utilize debt for facilities because your facilities are going to last more than 20 or 25 years or last longer than whatever that debt service timeline is, right? But it wouldn't make sense, for example, to utilize debt to buy a car because it wouldn't make sense for the city to issue a 20-year, debt on a car that's going to have to be replaced before that, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think the for me at least, it's about being smart about what you're using debt for. And I always correlate it to our personal lives, right? None of us are buying. I mean, I know some people could do it, but rarely people are buying houses cash, right? You're financing a house because it makes sense to. You're financing a vehicle because it makes sense to, right? And so it's no different in our world that it makes sense to finance certain projects. And facilities is certainly one of those.
Well, I want to give you an attaboy.
I mean, a road project could eat up every dime we get in a year easily.
Oh, 100%.
And then there's nothing left for anything else.
Right. Yeah.
Ash and I, collectively as Wade and Carter, we have rented, if you will. We paid the fees required to utilize the new pavilion, and we had a great experience.
Downtown?
We had a great experience. Tell us about that project. And I know that that's changing. At the time, it was the only things that we ran into were things that we weren't just wise enough to comprehend initially. You've got to hire law enforcement to be on site. Makes perfect sense. We just didn't think about it at the time. You've got to be willing to deal with the trash at the end of the evening, that kind of stuff. Normal, common sense things that we just didn't possess at the moment. But the process was very easy, very nominal in fee. I actually felt like this pavilion is provided for the community.
Right.
I think honestly, what would we pay? $175 or something?
Maybe
it was
something
nothing.
like that.
I got to talk to staff because they should have charged you way more than that.
They probably should have.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great thing. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you can't have him. Trey Molina, buddy down in Corpus, says our city manager in Corpus Christi is a joke. We need Jesus. No, you can't have him. but I tell folks about how you feel that pavilion's been received and what plans that, if you have anything upcoming.
Sure. Well, I think the proof is in the utilization of it, and it basically was utilized almost every weekend for the duration of 2024 after it opened last spring, and it continues to be utilized. Maybe not every weekend, but it's beginning to it's utilized quite a bit. Part of it is the affordability aspect of it. Part of it, of course, was the excitement of something new. And so for us, to your point, we want to make sure that we offer facilities that can be of service and utilization to the public. Right?
I'll tell you what, from the band we had,
and I'll
come
use
in.
that as a segue real quick to convey that that's also the goal with the community center, because currently the community center is an affordable option for our community to host their weddings,
it's very reasonable,
et cetera, right? And so the intent is for that to continue to be the case, right? And we want to, and I want to make that clear because some folks, rightfully so, have observed, well, okay, if the city's going to pump all of this money into the facility, clearly, rental fees are going to substantially go up. Will they go up? Probably so, right? But the intent is to keep it as at an affordable option, because that's the community part of it, right? I want to have a facility that has the sophistication and the look of a formal, fancy-ish convention center, but has the feel and the reputation and the feel and the culture of a community center. And that actually came up during the conversations of the committee, because a huge money generating factor at facilities like this is concessions. And our consultant was like, you can pay for a big chunk of this through concessions, right? But we knew that we couldn't do that because all the public has the culture of the utilization of the facility is to do your own concessions.
Yeah.
Nonprofits leverage concessions for fundraisers. They take that profit. People enjoy bringing their own caterer, right, to cater their wedding or their quinceañera. And so we felt that even though that could be a profitable operation within the facility, that it wouldn't go jive with the culture of what we're trying to achieve here. And so we didn't pursue that route. The facility will continue to be an open.
So you do listen to the people.
Unbelievable,
What?
this guy. Did you hear him say quinceañera? Just rolled right off his tongue. Can you say it?
Quinceañera.
No,
See, you're the only one, Brent.
he can't do it.
Even the Canadian can do it.
I just call it a quincy.
A quince.
Quince.
In any case, I just wanted to make that point that our intent is to ensure that the facility remains an affordable option for the public, even after we invest millions of dollars in it.
Well, yeah, I have to. When you're around City Manager Garza, it's infectious, right? Because he's excited about our community. He's willing to put himself out there. I think you've taken some chances on certain things, and I think they've paid off.
Most.
How long are we going to be able to keep you? How long
good.
before a big city calls?
I'm okay. I'm not looking. I'm not
good.
going
Detroit needs some help.
Detroit, I'm okay. I'll pass on
You
that.
don't want to go to Detroit?
Detroit needs some help.
Jennifer
No,
Ray-
I'm very happy in Victoria. You know, my family's here, and you know, I've got no reason to look at leaving.
Awesome.
Plus, you go anywhere
kiss of
bigger,
death,
and your
right?
15-minute commute turns into 30, 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, one
Sure.
way. That's
Man,
always
he'd
an
have,
issue.
he'd have a
Yeah.
helicopter in Detroit. Just fly above it.
Jennifer
But,
Abrams.
hey, will they get me a helicopter in Corpus?
I'm not going anywhere, but I'm negotiating.
Well, you can still live here and use a helicopter to get to work. Funky
That's
can make it
phenomenal.
happen
That's
if anybody.
phenomenal.
Jennifer Rayburn asks, is there a tier fee system to use the pavilion? I don't think there is. It's just one cost.
The one
right?
downtown?
Yeah.
Currently, I believe so. I think it varies on size of event,
Okay.
but I think that's the only tier that exists currently.
Okay.
There have been conversations about enhancing the fee structure for it to take things into account that currently just aren't there, things like the trash and some other things that we think we can fine tune that might create an opportunity to create additional
Yeah.
tiers.
Which, to be honest, if it's just covering the cost of that, it's a bargain.
yeah.
Because we know from having to do some of these things,
and
you're
we-
paying for it anyway. So, I mean,
And staff actually proposed some fees to the facility, and the feedback that we received from the mayor and council was they wanted to see some options that had some tier structured for nonprofits, as an example.
Funky Trey Molina says he's on it. He'll get you the
You know,
helicopter if he gets to the
and
job
now-
in Corpus.
For some levity here at the end, Torrin Bales just texted me a couple of weeks ago. You attended a brunch at John Paul Hull's house.
Yeah, that was nice.
And I happened to drive by because I stalked JP, and I like his
Does
yard.
he know that?
Yeah, I wanted to see where he put 300 bags of mulch. 300.
300 bags of mulch.
That's what he did.
I saw no mulch.
So I drove by. I
So
drove
I don't-
by and I saw Mickey Costello and Beth, and I saw, I didn't see you, but I saw your car, and I saw some other folks. And I just wanted to point out that I think I should have been invited. I just wanted to bring that up because JP,
I hit around the corner.
You should talk to your landlord about that.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I
and he said, he told me he wanted to have a small, intimate group, and it,
Just close friends.
it was 50 people were there, and Wade and Carter wasn't invited. I don't understand it.
Don't take it up with me.
There you go.
Wasn't my party.
Well, I'm proud of you.
John Paul, I haven't told him I was there.
Oh, unbelievable. I just get shunned. But we really, the hour has flown by. It is top of the hour. I know you got a full day. We appreciate everything you're doing. I'm excited about the direction that we're going. I wish that we could make this a more regular deal. I think that you resonate with the people. If you're not careful, they think, well, he's just in a big office downtown. Nobody knows what he does. I think it's good to have you on and talk about these things, because I promise you Victoria's listening this morning. So we teased
At least a small percentage of it.
The percentage that matters is listening. But we really appreciate your time and appreciate all that you're doing for our community.
I appreciate that.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jesus.
very
Appreciate
much.
you, man.
Thank
So, you know what? I mean, we're here. But by the way, we've got a minute and a half. Is there anything else that you want to share about upcoming stuff? I mean, anything you can think of that you want people to know, tell them now.
Sure. If anything, it's just to reiterate the information and where they can find it as it relates to the venue tax and community center. We have a good website up with FAQs, with copies of presentations that we've given, so people can visit victoriatx.gov/community
coming up.
center. And or they can go to this informational that I mentioned that's Monday from 1 to 3 p.m. at the community center. And so we invite the public to that. Our main priority and objective is to educate people on what it is and what it isn't. And then hopefully people come out and vote regardless of what their opinion is on it. We just want participation, right? So we encourage people to vote May 3rd. Early voting starts April 22nd. And so we just encourage people to go out and make their voices heard.
And I think you'll have a decent voter turnout. This is also the election for some school board folks, and I think you'll see some people showing up. So we appreciate your time. It is top of the hour, folks. We're gonna hang it up. We owe some sponsors some love. We'll give them that attention tomorrow. Thank you so much to our city manager and to Kimberly Tomasic for coming in this morning. Have a great day. Be safe. Go by Atzenhofer today, folks. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
I've been locked up for driving 100